Hey YouTube, welcome back to EagleX TCG, and we're coming at you with another Gundam card game video. Now, before I jump into the meat and potatoes of it, I just want to give a special thank you to everybody that sent me comments or messages of reassurance. I've lost 2 grandfathers over the past month, and I've been trying to keep up with the release of this game and a new job, and it's just been a lot to do at one time, and I'm doing my best. So, hopefully, you guys will like this video because I'm going to put my entire back into it. But what we're going to start doing is not just showing you guys lists, not just showing you guys results, but I actually want to hit the deepest dive into each of these archetypes, each of these meta contending decks, so that you guys not only understand how they work, why you may want to choose them, why you may not want to choose them, but also how to build better in the future. I want to give you guys the tools to see why these decks work and see these trends as new cards come out, as new trends come to the surface. So I give you guys the very first Gundam card game Newtype Insight showcase, and it is going to be on the popular red, blue, blue, red. Some people call it Newtype aggro, cyber Newtype aggro. Honestly, I'm gonna call it blue, red, ping tempo, because this is what the deck does. We're gonna go over all the cards, we're gonna go over the matchups, we're gonna go over the strengths, its weaknesses, and break down why this deck works. And I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so as you can see, we are on the Eggman events website, and we are going to go look at the GDO1 tournament deck list, and we have a lot of stuff coming from the 64-man Gen Con events. Now we've got a couple of this cyber Newtype aggro. Like I said, I'm still just gonna call it blue red tempo ping. I know that sounds weird, but there's a lot to this, and I think that by the end of this video you'll kind of understand what I mean. So the first one we're gonna look at is actually the first place list by Ben Ferris. Awesome dude. If you know him, you know him. But we're gonna go through a couple of these lists and then just kind of show you guys some of the synchronicities. So in this one, you've got 2 Jin. This is just a 2/2 that you can play for 1. You've got 4 Jim, which is another 2/2 you can play for 1. You've got the 4 Gun Tank. You've got the 3 Gun Cannon. You've got the Rizal, which is a good stat rock. Angsha, the Gundam. Kshatriya is the vanilla. Kshatriya is the LR. Banshee. Then you got the 2 pilots. Like I said in my deck building video, you normally have 2 focal pilots and maybe an auxiliary pilot. This deck is focusing more on an aggressive side, so it's actually just running 2 focal pilots. Then you got Vesalius, and then you've got Battle of Aces followed by Show of Resolve. So yeah, shout outs to Mr. Ferris for getting that first place. And yeah, we're gonna move on to the next list. Going over here, scrolling down, you actually have, this is I mean, Eggman, he topped actually 2. I think he's got a first place one a little further down. We'll just go to, I think this is his newer list, so the one he made with updates. But you've got here 4 Gen, 4 GM. So you've upped the ratios of these aggro pieces. You've got the Gira Zulu at 2. Then you've got the Gun Tank at 4. Only 1 Gun Cannon, 4 Rizal, 3 Angsha, 4 Gundam, 3 Vanilla Kshatriya, 3 LR Kshatriya, 2 Banshee. You've got the 4 pilots. He has the addition of the Corsica base and then only 3 Vesalius. So it looked like he tried to go a little bit lower to the ground with more low drops. Another low drop kind of here. 1 more vanilla, kind of less actually on the burn, because there's no Battle of Aces, and there's 1 less Kshatriya. So it actually looks like he has less burn in his deck than and some of the other people we're going to see in this video. Scrolling down, you also see this by Muhammad. Shout out to him. He's another 4/1 deck list. As you can see, 2 Jin, 2 GM, 4 Gun Tank, 2 Zaku Mariner. So you still got the 6 2/2s, 3 Gun Cannon. You got 4 Rizals, 4 Angsha, 2 Gundam, 2 Kshatriya, 4 Kshatriya LR, 2 Banshee, the focal pilots, the Vesalius, the Battle of Aces, as well as the draw power for Show of Resolve. So you can kind of see how these are going, right? Like, I just want to run through these, and then we are going to break down every single card, because that is essentially what we're going to do. Now, let's look at the 6-0 list that we see from Eggman and see if there are any changes. 4, 4, 2. No, this is pretty much, no, this is the exact same list. Okay, cool. So we can just move on from that. Actually, I think he took down Banshee by 1. And there's 1 more that I just want to see. This Daniel Imperial Gentleman also has the 3 Gen, the 3 GMs, so that's 6 still. You have the gun tank at 4, you know, the 3 gun cannon, the 4 Rizal, 4 Angsha, 1 vanilla Gundam, just to have 1 more linking partner for armor array. You've got the Gundam right here. You've got 2 vanilla Kshatriya, 4 LR Kshatriya, 2 battle bases, the 4 bases, the 4 Vesalius, the 4 draw cards, 2 Banshee, and then you got the armor array and the Marita Cruises. Now, this is, as you can see, the standard build for this deck, but we're going to take it one step further, and we're going to dive into why every single one of these cards is in here, because like I said, it's not enough just to show you the list. I want to give you guys the tools to build a deck like this yourself, to understand why this deck is put together, and I think that I have the ability to do so. So let's get into the real reason why you're here. So when it comes to this deck, the strengths of this deck is that in a game where you have to choose between going face or going into bodies, decks that can split the difference well on tempo will generally have a special niche, and because of the burn damage in this deck, that is what you're able to do. In the Gundam card game, because of the AP HP system, you are constantly trying to figure out how to make the best trades you can, how to best get rid of your opponent's bodies on board without losing too many of your own. Attacks that clear a body but keep your own are the most valued. They're the ones that allow you to maintain board presence while you take away from your opponents. However, you also have the thing that ends up happening where if you have a 2-3 and you attack into your opponent's 2-2, your body survives, but only for 1 HP, or only with 1 HP. And normally this is going to be good because your opponent has to devote an entire attack into it and potentially lose their body or chip it down, or you have another body to either go face or into one of their bodies the following turn. However, where this deck succeeds is that those bodies left over with minimal HP are easy clear up for burn damage, you know? And on top of that, the burn damage can soften a body that normally would not be chipped out by a small body, and then you are able to create even better trades. You're able to clean up your opponent's bodies for them trying to play optimally, and all the while, a lot of these methods allow you to keep attacking face while you get this done. So that is going to be what actually sets this deck apart from other decks in this current meta. So here we're going to break this down card by card, and we're only going to talk about the cards that pretty much show up in every single build, and then you will hopefully have a better understanding for why this deck does what it does. So going into the components of this deck and why it is the way it is, we're going to start with the burn components. As I said, damage through effect is what causes this deck to make way more favorable trades, or to clean up the opponent's cards after they try to make favorable trades. And so coming up on the screen right now, the first card we have is Kshatriya, the LR. As you guys can see, level 5, 4 cost, and then when paired with a Cyber Newtype or Newtype pilot, you're going to choose 1 to 2 enemy units, deal 1 damage to them. There's going to be a lot of situations where you might have something with 2 attack, right? Or 3 attack, and you attack into something with 3 HP or 4 HP, leaving it with 1 HP left. And having a card like this and pairing it correctly is going to be able to clean up that field. We're going to talk into situations about this a little later, but yeah, going into this, you have Kshatriya being able to ping 2 things, and then it gets even more dangerous when Kshatriya is linked with its preferred pilot, Marita Cruz. So going forward, the next card we're going to have here in the burn component is going to be the gun tank. Simple, 1 cost, 1/2, but the most important part is it deals 1 damage to a rested unit. Again, if you have a 2/2 and your opponent has like a 2/3 and they attack into your 2/2 and then, you know, KO it, destroy it, and they only have 1 HP left over, it is super simple for you next turn just to tap 1, play gun tank, and burn it for 1, killing off its remaining HP. This is the sort of tit for tat you're going to see a lot with this deck. Now you got the Angsha, and the Angsha is literally a bigger gun tank. It costs 1 more, it has double the level, and is going to do the exact same thing, just with a bigger body, a 3/3 body. And as you guys go through these burn effects with bodies, the craziest thing about them is that when you play a gun tank and you finish all something's remaining HP, that gun tank is still around unless they clear it, meaning that if they don't have a base or you break their base, you can send the gun tank in for damage. Same with this Angsha. In fact, playing Angsha out and dealing something 1 damage and then having a 3/3 body on the field for next turn is very, very strong. Now, the next part of the burn component, and generally rounding out the package for most of these decks, is going to be Battle of Aces. It's a level 3 2 cost, and then it has the burst of dealing 2 damage to just a random unit, well, any unit you choose. However, the main in the action says choose 1 damaged unit, an enemy unit, and then deal 3 damage to it. So the cool thing about this is when you have cards like Gun Cannon and Angsha, you're going to be able to trigger this very easily. Just forget about Kshatriya. That's another way you can start it off. But when you pay 1 to play Gun Tank and you ping something for 1 damage, it is now damage, and now you can tap 2 to deal another 3. This gets rid of so many bodies on the board, and it's actually just pretty insane how much reach this deck has, especially, like I said, after somebody tries to hit a favorable trade. If somebody KOs one of your units, like destroys one of your units via battle, they are pretty much just opening up that unit to being immediately removed on the counter swing with not even being attacked, just with burn damage alone. So that's pretty much what we got here. Now, going over to the next part of the deck, I'm going to talk about its aggro components. There's a lot of vanillas in this deck that are here simply because of their good stats. First and foremost, you have the Gym, and the Gym is just a level 2 1 cost 2/2. But as I was stating before, when you have the ability to ping something for 1, when you have the ability to ping a couple things for 1, like Kshatriya, and then you swing into something that normally had 3 HP, but now it has 2 HP, the GM gets it done. Or you have something with 5 HP, and you swing into it with the GM, bringing it down to 3, and then you tap 2 for something like Battle of Aces to deal the remaining 3 damage. This is how this deck snowballs into advantage, because you are making the best favorable trades. But it does have some holes in its armor, and we will get to that in the next segment when we talk about its matchup spread. But yeah. Another card that is pretty much Gym adjacent is the Jin. It's the same exact card, just in red and Zaft. Moving past that, you've got the Rizal, and the Rizal is an important stat rock. I told you guys in one of my previous videos about deck building, or I think meta revolving cards, meta warping cards. Yeah, look, it's actually going to be cards that have sufficient stat lines. When it comes to cards like Ilfrith, that's a 2/4 blocker that can come down as early as turn 2 if they have the EX resource, turn 3 if they don't. You likely need a card like this that's going to be able to contest it. A card like the Rizal is going to be able to swing, and if they choose to block it with the Ilfrith blocker, they're going to lose the Ilfrith blocker, and unless that blocker had a pilot underneath it, you get to keep your Rizal. What's more is that with all the burn damage in this deck, you have increased reach. Imagine if somebody has something like a Freedom Gundam, and you swing with the Rizal and they block it, only for you to deal 4 damage to its HP and then hit it with a Battle of the Aces for the rest of its HP. That's going to be the type of time you're on with this deck. And that's why I call it tempo. You're really going to be able to lean into an aggressive strategy. You can hang back, you can focus more on removal and board control, or you can do a mixture of both. You're not stuck to a normal linear game plan that some decks can find themselves doing. The next card we have here is the Kshatriya. Kshatriya is a 3/4 for 2, and it comes down on its level 4. Now, the thing about Kshatriya, though, is you're also going to be able to link with Marita, and that's going to give you another outlet for a ping. And then we're going to talk about that more so once we get to Marita, because she changes up a lot of how these cards work. And then you also have this next card we're going to talk about, Vesalius. Now, Vesalius is a very, very, very crucial card in this case. So most bases, as you guys know by now, will essentially just draw you a card. That's one of their premier points. Since we don't get cards from the shield zone to our hands, we actually need to make sure that we don't lose crucial pieces just because they're in our shield zone. And that's where bases come in. Now, the effects past that are, yes, very important, but the draw is also very important, especially in color combinations that don't really have draw. So when it comes to Vesalius, Vesalius is not only going to hit you with that deploy, add 1 shield on one of your shields to your hand, giving you an extra card in hand, but once per turn, you're also going to be able to give a friendly unit +1 AP. This is very, very important because it allows you to pretty much change the threshold on all the damage you can do. If you were going second in turn 1, you play a Gym or a Jin, and then turn 2, they don't have a blocker, and you follow it up with a Vesalius, tap it, give your 2/2 +1 +0, and then swing in for the EX base, congratulations, you've cleared the first hurdle. But this goes even further, allowing you to change up the battle math even further. Like, again, you could have a freedom blocker, and you could activate your Vesalius and then boost a 2-2 up to a 3-2, attack with it. They could block with freedom, taking the 3 damage, dropping down to 3 HP, and then you just finish them off by tapping 2 and hitting them with battle of aces. So Vesalius changing the combat math is very, very, very important, and it's pretty much relevant in all stages of the game to make sure that things get dead quick. Now, speaking of combat enablers, you also have the starter deck Gundam. This guy is a level 4, 3 cost. You guys should all know him and love him from the beta, but he's got repair 2, allowing him to chump with units easily, and then he's got during pair, during your turn, all your units gain +1 AP. Again, this is going to force all your 2-2s into 3-2s. This is going to force your 3-4s into 4-4s, and it's going to really allow you to push the envelope on the amount of damage and the trades that you can get done. And this is going to be a crazy addition. Now, on top of that, because there is a 4 HP stat line on this, even without a pilot, you can eat opposing 2-2s, you can eat opposing 3-1s, and then still gain most of your HP back. This is the strength of this Gundam card. Against aggro builds, you'll just eat things all day to get them off the field. If you pair this with Amuro, for instance, it becomes a 5-5 and you rest things, and this is the easiest way to remove something on the board that's small. You pair it with Amuro, which we'll talk about later, you rest something, you swing in with it, you only take 3 damage, cool, but you heal 2, meaning that you're only 1 damage at the end of the turn, and they still have to get through 4 HP with a 5 attack stat. 6 on the turn you're swinging because of the during pair effect. So yeah, this is an enabler, and it really does help push all of your bodies into overdrive. A much better Vesalius. They do different things. You know, this card isn't drawing you a card, and it's a body that can go sideways. So yeah, they do different things, but they're essentially in the same vein of trying to make the most value for your cards. Now, as a tempo swinger, you do have gun cannon. There's a couple cool things about this. Gun cannon is going to have repair 1, and then when paired, choose 1 enemy unit with 2 or less HP and rest it. Now, the cool thing about this is you're not always going to have something to pair, because this deck only runs 8 pilots. However, there are going to be a lot of clutch plays where sometimes, because of the white-based team trait as the link, you can link with Amuro to get that haste effect. And when you do this, Amuro is going to rest something with 5 or less HP, and this is going to rest something with 2 or less HP. There's a lot of different combinations that will work against this. When you play out Gun Cannon, you pair Amuro with it, in the aggro / like tempo mirror, you're going to be able to probably rest 2 things and then open them up to being attacked by your board. However, against blocker decks, this can rest a Zawart and an Ilfrith at the same time, because the Zawart will have 2 HP, Ilfrith will have 4. If you pair Gun Cannon with Amuro, you should be able to just rest 2 blockers in a lot of different situations, or rest a smaller dude and a blocker. There's also other cards that may not be linked yet that have that HP threshold, such as I mean, there's a lot of different experimentation, but some people are trying to experiment with Striker Pack to put those 4-2s on board. There's a lot of things, even like cards like Corsica Base, which people are starting to experiment with more. You can tap that token too. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with this, but just understand that this guy is in there because not only can he cause a double rest, he can get the haste effect via Armor Array, but he can also have Repair 1, which is going to allow him to also chump. Pairing with Armor Array makes him a 4-4 with Repair 1, and that's good enough to start eating your opponent's board and then minimizing your losses from that. Now, the next card we have here is the Banshee. I think this is the late game star. You don't always need this card, but I'm just going to put it out there for everybody that's playing this deck and isn't using Banshee, or is like, oh, I don't really know about Banshee. It's nothing against you. Just understand that you are winning already. Banshee, if you don't have to use Banshee in a game, that means that you are going to win that game regardless. However, at the same time, Banshee is an excellent card to push the difference. It also can just flat out end a game if you have the Merida in hand to use with it. But the whole thing about Banshee is being a level 6 4 cost. During a link attack, choose 12 cards from your trash, return them from your owner, or return them to your owner's deck and shuffle it. If you do, set this unit to active, it gains first strike during this turn. And so the cool thing here is if you need to clear 2 bodies, pairing this with Merida Cruz is going to make this a 7-5. And if this thing is a 7.5, you're going to be able to attack something, and Marita Cruz will burn something that's less than level 6, equal to or less than level 6 on the board. So you get to attack into something with first strike, probably just annihilating it with 7 HP. Also, the cool thing is, since you're burning, as long as it has a lower, equal to or lower level than Banshee, you can destroy things up to 8 HP because you were going to ping it for 1 and then hit it for 7 damage first strike. Good. And then you can swing into something else. You can swing into life. You can swing into a base. You can also, if they have 1 shield and that's it, you could swing into their shield, use the effect, untap this guy, and then swing again for game. So realistically, this is a great way to clean up the board. This is a great way to go for game, but you don't always need it. That's why it's in most lists as a 2 of, because you don't always need Banshee. But I do think that it has a valid space, especially because of the Marita Cruz link. Now we got to talk about the star pilots. This deck does not really have an auxiliary pilot. You just have 2 pilots that put in the most work. The first of which being Marita Cruz. Marita Cruz is level 4, 1 cost, just Newtype, Neo Xeon / Cyber Newtype. And during link / attack, you during link when she attacks under a unit. That sounds confusing, right? But this is something that's also a point. The yellow box saying during link is basically saying only while this pilot is in a link with a unit, not a pair, but a link. When you attack, choose 1 enemy unit whose level is equal to or lower than this unit, deal 1 damage to it. So this is the cool part, because the 2 premier things you're going to be linking with are the Kshatriya LR and the Banshee LR. But you can also link to the Kshatriya vanilla. But the cool thing is, when you link to Kshatriya LR, you're going to activate Kshatriya's effect to ping 2 things on the board, each for 1 damage, up to 2 things on your opponent's board for 1 damage. And then when you attack, you're going to be able to ping anything less than level 5, or equal to or less than level 5 with Marita, allowing you to essentially hit something for either spread out 3 damage, hit something for 2 and something for 1. That's actually like pretty amazing. Not to mention that every time they don't get that card off the field, that unit off the field paired with Marita, you're gonna be able to do it again. And that's what really gets under the skin of a lot of these decks that are playing 2/2 bodies, bodies with 3 HP, bodies like until you get to 4, you're not really safe from this sort of thing. And you're not even safe from it at 4 because Battle of Aces exists. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do here. Mind you, when you are paired with Banshee, if you use Banshee's effect, you're going to ping something twice for 1, and that's pretty cool. They can hit the same target because, you know, it's 1 iteration per swing, you're swinging twice. So realistically, Marita is just strong. Like, she's a very strong, very strong pilot. And then when you put Marita under the vanilla, it's very interesting because you make the vanilla a 5/5, and then on top of making the vanilla a 5/5, every time the vanilla swings, it can ping something level 4 or lower, and that's going to pretty much turn it into a pseudo blocker, because until they get that off the board, you're going to be able to soften up anything on the board. Like, your opponent swings with something, swings with a 2/2, and you play Kshatriya, and you play Kshatriya vanilla for 2, you play Marita for 1, you swing at their shields for 5, you know, you bust a base or you destroy a shield, you ping that 2/2 for 1, then you just tap your last remaining resource or 1 more resource, and you play out Gun Tank, and Gun Tank pops it because it deals another 1 damage. This is the type of play that you can get with this deck. And I'm gonna try to have this deck on camera, some matches. I'm gonna see if I can record some matches this week at locals, but because I got 2 to go to, I think, this week. So yeah, we'll see about that. But yeah, that's pretty much what Marita leads to. And then you have Amuro, a star player, and what Amuro is going to do is open up ways to crack somebody's board or get blockers out of the way. The being able to rest something with 5 or less HP is very strong. You've got a lot of premier cards to get rested by that. You got Ilfris to get rested by that. You have Strike Gundams with no with or without Kira as a pilot that can get rested by this. A lot of good things that can stand in your way outside of Freedom Gundam, you're going to be able to rest with Amuro. And the other thing that's kind of cool is that if Freedom Gundam has any damage on it, you can still rest it with armor. So this is a very, very strong card. Linking with Gundam and Gun Cannon allows you to have some haste thrown into your deck. It's also going to allow you to just open up, like I said, massive holes in order to just crack in for damage, destroy bases, or sometimes even when your opponent is trying to hit the desperation momentum play, where they don't have the pilot, or they can't play the pilot this turn, so they play out the unit, hoping to have it carry into next turn for a future play, and you just go, nah, none of that, and you rest that unit and then swing into it, and then maybe burn it for the rest of it if you didn't destroy it with the swing. Amuro opens up a lot of routes, and that is why he is good. And then the last card we have here is pretty self-explanatory. No real need to go into it, and that is going to be Show of Resolve. You draw 2 cards. If you're playing blue, you need to have some copies of this in your deck just so that you can thrive, and that is going to be essentially the gambit of this deck and why these cards are in there, and I hope this worked for you. But now we are going to talk about the matchups and where this deck tends to lie in the format. So when it comes to matchups, a lot of you guys want to know, like, you know, oh, what is it good against, what is it not good against? This format has a very, very unique wheel in what plays into which cards, and one of the things you're going to want to look at is going to be the curve. So over here right now, we have got Earth Federation aggro, we have got Wing Zero, and we've got Freedom blockers. A lot of people want to know, what decks is this deck good against? What decks is it weak against? Let's start with an interesting just like kind of mock-up, which is going to be Wing Zero, right? This is just the white-green wing deck. Now the funniest part is, with a deck that is going to be as aggressive as blue-red tempo, you're going to be able to do quite a lot to get under the radar for this. Going second and having a like turn 1 2/2 and then going into a turn 2 Vesalius and then being able to bust the EX base before they can get a blocker online and then being able to just kind of cascade into a bunch of stuff is going to be great. When you look at the initial curve of this deck, Zawarts are easily handled by this deck. Gundam Ilfrith is a little bit of a stumbling block, but the moment it actually blocks something, it's easily handled. Having Wing Gundam Bird Mode, easily handled. Ale Strike Gundam, Perfect Strike Gundam. Both of these cards are going to be cards that, if they're not paired, they can be pretty much taken down pretty easily. Rested with Amuro, burned out with Gun Tank, Battle of Aces. If you already have a body on board and they just play a raw 4 cost or 4/4 with like one of these, and you just hit them immediately with the pair something with Amuro to rest it, burn it with like a Gun Tank, and then Battle of Aces it for game. That can just get these things off the board right then and there. Even worse, when you are running around with things like Kshatriya, you can swing and just know that if they block you, they lose their blocker. But if they don't block you, you're gonna ping their blocker for a second time. Like both of these cards, if you pair Kshatriya with Marita, you can ping them once, taking them down to 3 HP, and you can ping them again, taking them down to 2 once you swing. And then if they block you, they die. But if they don't block you, you can potentially get in with like your 2/2s, and then they have to pretty much force the trade on their blocker regardless, or just let all that damage go through. So this is where you kind of get your like damage in, your sliding under the radar. Now the main issue that this deck will have is going to be this card right here. This card right here. When Wing Zero hits and deals 3 damage, I just wanna go over this real quick. I'm gonna open up Ben's list real quick. When Wing Zero comes down and deals 3 damage to everything on the board with level 5 or lower, I just want you to understand that unpaired, Jin, GM, Gun Tank, Gun Cannon, Rezel, Angsha all die immediately. Immediately. If there's any damage on any of these boss cards, they would die immediately. Now granted, Gundam, Kshatriya, and Banshee all generally will come out with their paired pilot. They'll normally link on the turn they're played because that's how you get the most value out of them. However, if you per se play Wing Zero and deal 3 damage to everything, you're likely getting rid of every card but these main boss monsters, But if you follow the following turn up with a second wing 0, you will literally board wipe, and then they will be forced to essentially try to top deck to get back in the game, or hopefully have the backup plan in hand. So it's kind of funny because this deck is aggressive enough to get under wing, but if wing high rolls and makes it to double wing 0, the deck just folds. That is something that I will put on, like, I will put it on Kami, I will put it on Setsuna FC after becoming part. You know what? I won't even spoil the series like that. I'm just saying, wing 0 twice will fold this deck. You don't have a lot of cards that sit at the HP threshold to do it. So against wing 0, you have to be as aggressive as possible, hoping that they don't line up too many blockers and high roll on their ramp in order to get to where they need to be. So that's essentially the matchup with wing. You have to race them, because once wing reaches its top end, if they even have like 2 life sometimes, you might just get gate kept out of the game. Like if you get hit with a wing 0 into wing 0 and then they just start playing out blockers afterwards, you're probably just gonna get ended. It's not like you have high maneuver. It's not like you can close out the game once they get rid of your entire wide board and then start setting up blockers. So that is gonna be something to kind of worry about. Now, going into the next matchup, we're going to talk about the Freedom Blockers. Now, Freedom Blockers offers a different sort of thing. Actually, I didn't even open it up, right? Did I? I thought I did. Freedom Blockers opens up a different kind of issue. Hello? Okay, cool. And that issue, sorry the technical difficulties, is sometimes the stat lines kind of get out of control. So with Freedom Blockers, they're generally going to either be running a unicorn path at their top end, or they're going to be running a Suletta support package. The important part about this is that both Suletta and Banagher give +2 HP, which is going to push certain things into a crazy threshold. You have already got cards like Zawart and Gundam Elfrith clogging up the early game, but they can be dealt with, especially Zawart. You also have things like Ailstrike Gundam and Perfect Strike Gundam that can clog up the board, but again, they can be dealt with. 4 is not a bad stat line. However, when you slot Banagher underneath one of these, it becomes almost impossible to deal with without actually pouring resources into the card, especially if it's not already tapped. The moment they get above the 5 HP, you can't tap it with Amuro. And if you can't tap it with Amuro, then you actually have to wade into it. And there's only a couple cards in this deck that will deal damage to an untapped, undamaged card, that being Kshatriya. Now, that being said, hitting it with Kshatriya, right? Playing Kshatriya out for 4, playing Marita out for 1, pinging it for 1, and then hitting it with Battle the Aces for 2, that's a that's a 7 resource play, but you're dealing 4 damage to it, and then you can attack and kill its HP if it only has 5 HP. Like if they paired it with an Amuro or Akira, you will get rid of Ailstrike or Perfect Strike with that combo. But if they paired it with Banagher, maybe not this list, because this list literally seems to have Banagher just to pair with the unicorn. There's only 1 tech unicorn, but it is what it is. You can sometimes get stuck behind the wall. So depending on the build, it can get very, very rough for like this blue-red ping tempo list to get past the defense, because sometimes depending on your pilot spread, they can put up numbers that are just kind of hard to deal with. Not exactly with this one with only the 2 Banagers, but let's see if we can find any other builds that might take advantage of it. Scrolling down, we'll see Justice Blockers. I kind of want to look at that. Oh, they're done. Scrolling down, you actually don't see a lot of Freedom Blockers, and I will kind of be real with you. It's not that the deck is bad, because we'll get to that when we go over the wing list for this. If you guys like this sort of video, we'll go over it when we do the wing version of this. Like I said, this format is a wheel, and it makes it really hard for certain decks to get through all 8 rounds, especially when your worst matchup is a very populated matchup. So looking at this one, right, this is more of an academy build. This build, I will let you know right now, would have a better matchup against red blue or blue red, mainly because 1, you see they have the blocker lineup, the Zawart, the Ilfrith, Striker, or the Perfect Strike, the L Strike, but they also have Soletta Mercury. And if you notice, there's 4 Gundam aerial rebuild, and that rebuild will get back your draw cards. That rebuild can get back Unforeseen Incident, which is an excellent battle mechanic. There are going to be some times where they chip you down and they try to swing in with a card thinking that, okay, well, I'm gonna sacrifice damage in order to get rid of a body, and you hit them with the Unforeseen Incident. They lose their body, you don't lose your body, and then you have to reassess how they played out the turn, because generally you have to sequence correctly in order to get these kind of plays off. Now, granted, like I said, with Soletta Mercury, if you put Soletta under Ale Strike or Perfect Strike, you make yourself a blocker that cannot be tapped by Amuro. It cannot be rested by Amuro. And on top of that, outside of Kshatriya swinging, and Kshatriya or Unicorn Gundam, one of these pairs swinging, it's very hard to actually force a trade. If you swing with the Gundam, they may just let it go and not block it, not to lose their blocker. These two, maybe same thing, but anything else you could turn sideways, they could easily just eat it and then just force you to have the removal for their card afterwards. But even then, taking 2 damage and then you have to burning them for 4, it can happen. It can be as simple as Gun Tank and Battle of Aces, but I'm just saying it's not exactly just the most ideal. Also, putting Soletta Mercury on something like a Freedom Gundam just makes it so that Freedom Gundam just stays on the board forever versus your deck, and so that is kind of rough. Even putting Soletta Mercury on Gundam Aerial Rebuild is going to make it a 6/6, and that's going to be a huge battering ram to clear up your board turn after turn after turn. So yes, against the white blue blockers, like Freedom blockers and stuff like that, you do kind of have a bit of an issue, because depending on how they draw pilot wise, they can really gum up the board. They can provide numbers that take way too many of your resources to burn down and eventually overwhelm you. Now, there's a new list that's kind of cropping up. People are calling it Federation Aggro, but I am just going to put this out here. No shade to anybody who wants to call it Federation Aggro. I mean, well, this one actually is Federation Aggro. I'll shut up about that one. That one's Federation Aggro. I've just seen some people call it Federation Aggro when it's more of like a mixture between one-year war cards, but this one in general is just pretty much Federation with some Zaku's in it. And when it comes to this deck, right, this deck can kill as early as turn 4. If it has a perfect run, you can kill as early as turn 4. It only runs 4 pilots, being Amuro, and that's really just to put aside a blocker and then keep going. Play a gun cannon, put an Amuro under, tap 2 blockers, turn the entire board sideways. You've got the G Fighters. I love G Fighter personally. You play it, you pair it with Amuro, you rest something, allowing other bodies to get in, but you also give the unblockable to itself so it can swing in as well. There's a lot of cool things you can do here, but essentially the main thing about this deck is that you're going to be able to provide a lot of pressure early game. Now, when it comes to this deck though, you'll notice 2-2, 1-2, 2-2, 1-2, 3-2. And then what you're also going to notice here is this card doesn't link, this card doesn't link, Zaku 2s don't link, Jagan doesn't link, Rizal doesn't link, Angsha doesn't link. So when you have so many cards that do not link and you only run 4 pilots, what you're doing a lot of the times with this deck is playing out cards and then hoping they survive till the following turn in order for them to do their best work. And what that doesn't work against are setups like Amuro and Gundam to attack your card and eat it. Amuro and Gun Cannon to tap something, tap 2 things, and swing into one of them with the GM and swing into another one with Gun Cannon. It's not going to stop things like the Kshatriya from just ruining your board. Dealing 1, dealing 2, swinging, dealing another one, and then you have a singular guy on the board with 1 HP that can just be finished off by the gun tank. It's not going to stop Gundam Banshee from coming down. Well, most things don't stop Gundam Banshee from coming down and just destroying things. But the point is, this deck, because it doesn't have a lot of haste, doesn't have a lot of links, you're going to end up being in a lot of situations where your board can be picked apart by this sort of deck. And for the most part, that is what is in the meta. As you can see, you have the blue-red, You have the blue-red tempo over here. You've got freedom blockers, you got wing zero, and then the Earth Federation aggro. All of these cards, all these decks have been talked about today, and I've gone over their matchups. So yeah, I think we're about ready to clean this up. We can go into Xeon aggro real quick, just so that I don't know what this link is doing, just so that bruh, look, it's ruining my flow. Dog, am I doing something wrong? Okay, look, apparently this link is broken. I defeat. Okay, cool. So this one works. I'm not doing it wrong, it's just weird. So this one, this is very much so more of a mix between the Federation and Xeon, and this is pretty cool. Now, granted, this list is the last list I kind of want to go over for you guys. You can see you've got the 1-drops, you've got the gun cannons to clear up, you got the Zaku 2s for some added pressure, Char Zaku 2 in spades for this link, you've got the G Fighter for the high maneuver, as well as the Char Gelgu. You got a lot of high maneuver. This entire row is high maneuver. Then you've got the Amuro link to eat other low units, and then you got the resting, and then you've also got the plus AP here that'll boost all of this into some damage. Intercept orders is a little interesting for me, but you know, we'll allow it. And you got Siege Ploy just to get things out of the way, like big blockers. So essentially right here, you have a low to the ground aggressive deck that can once again kill as early as turn 4 if things line up. And when it comes to that, it kind of suffers a lot of the same issues as the other one we just looked at. You can see here that Dop, Pisces, Gun Tank, Zaku 2, all don't link. And because they don't link, they can get picked off very easily by this deck. I'm getting ads in ads. They can get picked up very easily by this deck. But the thing is, this deck has a better top end, having the ability to have Char and Amuro link with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 targets for Amuro, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 targets for Char, and then the ability just to put Amuro under anything really to open up a path with a blocker. So yeah, that's essentially the matchup spread currently in the meta. As more decks pop up, and I'm sure they will, because this meta does seem like it's going to be a shifting meta, we will see different matchups, we will see different spreads, but for now, this is how this deck interacts with this meta. And now we're gonna go into the closing, and like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed. So yeah, that is pretty much what I think about this blue-red tempo deck. I love decks that can remove on tempo. You really don't have to split as much difference in deciding whether or not you're going face or going like to the board. You really are able to split both and just kind of decide minuscule additions to where you want to lean between the two. It allows you to really get a good momentum going, and it's really hard for a lot of decks. On top of that, this deck particularly preys on people who are learning how to understand the AP HP system, how to make valuable trades, valuable board states, and it really puts them in positions where they have to second guess everything they're doing, because what looks like a good trade may be a good trade for this turn, but it allows them to get capitalized on the following turn in ways that normally wouldn't happen. So for now, I definitely think it's a very good deck. I do think that there is a bit of a curve to it, and if a lot of people start playing this deck, it's going to cause a meta shift, because there is definitely a deck that doesn't necessarily hard counter, but plays a much more difficult game plan to fight against this, that isn't as doing as well as many people thought it would do, only because there's another deck in the format that does very well into it, that this deck actually does very well into. I know that may sound confusing, but we're going to talk about it as we go through these. If you like this sort of content, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe for more Gundam card game content. We will be doing more in the future. I hope you enjoyed this. Check out the chapters if you want to go and re-listen to anything, and yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of a video like this. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you next time, and yeah, later.